Quick question, Gustavo.
Yeah.
The host list. Where are the hosts? The host or the moderator list for each panel for each session?
I send you on WhatsApp.
Carl, it's me for this session.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eduardo, for playing this short video. Hi, all. I'm Kathan. Welcome to session 2 of GHOU. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people across the world. We have had a wonderful beginning and some with small glitches, and a wonderful session 1 with beautiful sharing of experiences of summer camps and some clubs and a wonderful STEM-based keynote. So we are beginning the session 2 with a keynote speech from Julie Bolduc-Duval, who is from Canada, and she has been sharing her passion for astronomy and science with countless numbers of school groups, students, and members of public in various settings across Canada and online. She has been running a very interesting project since 2011 known as Discover the Universe. So in this keynote speech, she is going to share her lessons learned in the 10 years of online training and education. Over to you, Julie, for this talk. Looking forward for this talk. So Julie, we have almost an hour. I would request you to keep your talk for almost 45 minutes, and then we can have a short question answers. So, so friends, whosoever wants to ask question answers, at the bottom of your list, there's a Q&A, and you can share your questions below in the Q&A. And we'll be getting to the questions at the point of time. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathan, for the introduction. And thanks to the Global Hands-on Universe Conference for inviting me. I'm very happy to be with you, I guess, this morning for me, but I see that's evening and probably night for some of you. And actually, it's very interesting. If you are interested, I'm curious to know where you're all from. So if you want to write in the chat, I'm looking from the corner of my eye at the same time as I'm talking to you in the chat where you're from. So yes, I'm Julie. I'm joining you from Canada, actually from a small town named Thetford Mines. But it's actually, this was a land that was where the two nations, the Huron-Wendat and the Abenaki nation, lived for thousands of years, even before my French ancestors arrived here. So I wanted to recognize that. And so yes, I'm French Canadian. Canada has 2 official languages, French and English, but there are hundreds of Indigenous languages spoken here as well. Oh, someone else from Canada. Hello, Teresa. Okay, so I will start sharing my slides with you, and I will tell you a bit more about what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So I know with the pandemic, everyone had to turn to online presentations. Well, almost everyone, we had to do a lot more online. This is something I've been doing for 10 years. Actually, we started Discover the Universe à la découverte de l'univers 10 years ago in 2011. And even though I feel like I'm still learning and I'm still, trying to improve our programs and so on, I don't have all the answers. I thought it might be interesting to share with you what we've learned over the last 10 years, things that worked well, things that didn't. I feel like we share a lot of our successes, but sometimes it's good to learn that other people have problems and, they have some fails as well. So I'm going to share that with you as well. So a bit more, there we go. A bit more about me. So I've been working in the science education and outreach field, especially astronomy, for 20 years. I started my careers at 2 different observatories in a sense. So this is the Mont Mégantic Observatory, not too far from where I live, actually, here in Quebec. It's a beautiful place. It was the first international dark sky reserve. And there's a visitor center. And that's where I worked there just before starting university as a student. And I really realized that my passion was sharing astronomy with the public, and that was just amazing. And I learned so much that summer. And then I moved on the other side of the country. So that's more on the East Coast. I moved completely west in Victoria, and the other observatory you see there is actually from Victoria, the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory. And I was a tour guide there and telescope operator for a few years as well. And I got to share with so many school groups and the public. And I learned a lot. Like when you meet the public, you realize what they know and what they don't know. So that helps me. All that experience has really helped me with the work I do today. I moved back to Quebec in 2004, and I taught college physics and astronomy in my local community college here. And again, that was very useful because I got to see what students, when they reach the college level, what they know and don't know. And again, college here in Canada is after high school. So it would be like 17 years old to 21 or so. And that helped me, realize what they know and mostly what they don't know when they reach college. And for the last 10 years, I've been running the program Discover the Universe, which I will tell you about in this presentation. So Discover the Universe was built as a legacy of International Year of Astronomy 2009 in Canada. We thought, let's create a program to help educators. So this was beyond IY in Canada. We wanted something that was free, that was national, so at the countrywide, and Canada, again, big country. We wanted something in Canada's 2 official languages, English and French. And it was a very small budget. We only had budget to pay 1/4 of my salary. So I was like a quarter full-time working on this project. I was also teaching in the college at the same time. And so how do we do this, right? If we want to travel, if we want to cover a lot of territory, then we need quite a bit more budget. And again, Canada being quite a large country, actually, this is not even showing the whole thing because I'm cutting the very south part here and the very northern part as well. And this is where I live. So this is the province of Quebec here where I live, mostly French province. And then there's a lot of other territory. Just a note here as well, because I'll come back to a map of Canada a bit later. Most of the Canadian population really lives close to the border with the United States. So when it comes to, there are people living in the north or like northern Ontario and northern Quebec, but the population is a lot less here. Most of the population is like the big cities are close to the US border. And I'll come back to that when I talk about the eclipse we just had last June. So the solution to have a program that was national, bilingual to everyone across the country was to go online. And to be honest, I didn't really know how to do it back then. We didn't do it because we were innovative. We were really doing it because that was the only way to do it, right? And that was because we had such a low budget, we couldn't afford to have to travel. So I didn't really know how to do it back then, but there was a group that was already doing astronomy training online. And I want to acknowledge their support here because they've been fantastic in helping us to inspire us. And actually I was in touch with them and they helped us get our program started. So a big thanks to the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. Many of you probably know about them. I love their work. I'm a big fan. So I highly recommend you go check their website and check out their programs. They are really an inspiration for me. So they were doing online training, and I thought we would be inspired by what they do, but adapt to the Canadian reality. And that's how Discover the Universe was founded in 2011. So this is the website now. We have it in English and in French. Here's the French one. And coming back here, whoops. You can see we have, training for educators. We have resources that they can go and download. We have a blog where we put some astronomy news or some special events we're running. So you are welcome to go on the website, and we try to have it as freely as possible, accessible to everyone. We reach our target audience are Canadian educators, but I realize that we are reaching people in other countries as well, especially in French, probably because there are less French resources out there. So we are reaching, I know I have participants in many different countries, and that's always fascinating for me to know I'm reaching people that I don't know how they learned about us, but it's fascinating to know that we are helping people across the globe. And I just want to say thanks to our supporters. So in 2016, the Dunlap Institute at the University of Toronto adopted Discover the Universe. So that kind of gives us a home. That gave me colleagues for the first time, which was very nice. And we're also supported financially by the Canadian Astronomical Society and the Center for Research in Astrophysics in Quebec. So these are more of the French-speaking professional organization in Canada. So we're supported by astrophysicists like the professional community, but we collaborate with amateur astronomers and many different groups across Canada. So how do we reach teachers? When I say we help educators, we're mostly reaching teachers, K to 12. So from teachers of kindergarten to grade 12, but I know that's not how you call it in different countries. So teachers of elementary and secondary school, kids aged 5 to 16, 17, let's say. And it is a challenge from many different ways. We're actually, I just wanted to mention that we also reach informal educators. So we have like youth group leaders, scout leaders, staff in some science museums and so on. Like they're welcome to join if we can help them be more equipped and better prepared to share astronomy with their youth groups, then we're happy to help. But there are some challenges. Many teachers don't know much about astronomy, so they obviously need some help, and they say that themselves. They're scared of teaching astronomy. Astronomy is fascinating, but kids have lots of questions, and it can get overwhelming pretty quickly. And this is my experience. People say, I'd love to be more familiar with the subject and be able to cover more astronomy, but I just don't know how. So that makes my job very relevant. I want to help them, but it is a challenge in the sense that when do we do the training? They're in class most of the day and with their families in the evening. I mean, some of them don't necessarily have kids, but found that many of them, have kids and don't really have time in the evening to do some professional development. They're very busy. I have the biggest admiration for teachers. I feel like they have a very demanding job. They're overwhelmed with requests from parents, from the school boards, from the principals, and so on. So and the kids themselves. So they're very busy. They have too much content to cover. The curriculum is already very full, so it's hard to add new stuff. And astronomy is a small part of their science curriculum, which is a tiny part of the whole curriculum, at least in Canada. I feel we're very lucky in Canada in that astronomy is already part of the curriculum. So it is there in all provinces and territories. But because there's no provincial exams or anything to check if that subject was covered, many teachers will simply skip it. And it is, again, science is much broader than astronomy. And then you have languages and math and so on that are taught as well. So it's not necessarily the priority for teachers. And I fully understand that. We are all passionate. If we're here, we're all passionate about astronomy and we feel like everyone should know about it. And I do think the world would be a better place if we all understood our place in the universe a bit better. But I can't force it on teachers who are already overwhelmed with so many different things they have to work on. So it is a challenge to reach teachers, but we try to do it anyway. And some ways we've done it, I'll cover some of the programs we've done and tell you a bit what worked and what didn't. So the first few things we tried are online workshops. So how do these work exactly? They're over 3 weeks, so a 3-week workshop with new content each week. If you are familiar with MOOCs or massive open online courses, it's a bit like that, not exactly, but in a sense that you register, it's free, you register, and then each week you get access to new content. We've built over the years 3 different workshops, and each of them are 3 weeks. So one of them was targeted towards elementary teachers. So students age, well, I guess it's in Canada, astronomy is a lot in grade 6. So that would be teachers of students aged 11, 12 or so. Then secondary teachers, secondary school teachers. Again, in Canada, there's a lot of astronomy in grade 9. So kids around 14 years old. And we also have a workshop before the summer that's targeted more towards informal educators. If we think about summer camps or youth group leaders, if they want to do activities outside, for example, we change it a bit, the format, to adapt it to informal educators. The workshop have been offered once a year so far. We are thinking of ways they could be self-paced and registration always open. But because I link a lot to what's visible in the sky right now, it's a bit tricky because that changes throughout the year. So I would need to change the content often if it was offered many times throughout the year. So this is a challenge I have at this point. How much do I want teachers to learn Lookup, because I think we're losing that as a society now. We tend to look down at our cell phones a lot more than we tend to look up at the sky. And I would love teachers to look up more. So I need to tell them what's visible in the sky, but that changes throughout the year. So that affects my ability to offer this workshop. It takes more time for me to do this. But anyway, just to give you an idea, this is a bit of content for level 1, what we call the one that's more elementary school teachers. So the week 1 is the night sky. What is astronomy? Reconnecting humanity to the Earth and stars. And actually, recently I've used a video by the group Astronomers for Planet Earth that I find absolutely amazing. I liked it so much, that video, that I helped work with them to translate it in French. So I would have the equivalent in French as well. So if you want to check it out, like just type that, Reconnecting Humanity to the Earth and Stars, a video from Astronomers from Planet Earth. It's fantastic. We try to bring indigenous knowledges as well of the night sky, and not just the Western view of the night sky, but I really invite people to look up and discover what's visible. Just like Jupiter was close to the moon in the last few days, and that was beautiful, but most people probably didn't know that was Jupiter. So just invite them to look up and see different things. The second week is the Earth, Moon, Sun system. So talking about motions of the Earth and the moon, phase of the moon, eclipses, and so on. I think that's probably found in curricula. But it's found in Canada anyway, in all provinces, but I'm sure that's similar in other countries as well. Usually don't start with black holes and the history of the universe. You start with the Earth, Moon, Sun system. And week 3, I bring them to, from the Earth to infinity, talking about the solar system, but also learning our place in the universe. And even though the content there is a bit more advanced than what many teachers at that level would teach, I still think it's very important for them to have an idea of the scale of the universe and know our place in it, for example. So I like to put that as well. And I put Pale Blue Dot here as well. Just I find there's so many great content that you can send in your workshops and have people realize how fragile and how unique our Earth is and how we're all citizens of planet Earth, that I want to include those as well in my workshops. Okay, so how do we cover that content? If you are less familiar with online delivery, basically there are 2 ways to do it, like the synchronous format where participants interact with you in real time, live videos like right now, or asynchronous where participants learn at their own pace and all the videos are pre-recorded. And of course, very often we do a mix of both. We do it live, but like right now, I'm live with many of you, but it will be recorded and available afterwards as well, asynchronously to watch later. We started with the synchronous format. That was not even called that way back 10 years ago. We just thought, let's have a weekly live webinar and extra resources such as, we provide the PowerPoint and different activities, but each week there was one webinar where I would meet teachers online, answer questions, and they would have access to other activities to do on their own. That worked well. The pros of that is that it's fun to interact with teachers. That was a way for me to interact with them online. They could have, live questions and answers, and it could be recorded and watched later. And that was always something that was very important to me, is always make it available for later viewing, because in the cons here, what time is best? It was actually something as simple as when should I put my live webinar it's been very tricky for me to think about, because it's hard to reach teachers. Again, during the day they're in class, in the evening, not all of them are available. We've actually run some tests, daytime webinars and evening webinars, and there was no real obvious solution. And Canada covers 6 time zones. So just figuring out like when it is the best time, like on the East Coast and on the West Coast might be very different. So there's no perfect time. So for me, it was always important to have the recording so that teachers could watch it later. However, offering the webinar recording didn't help with live audience numbers. If teachers knew they could watch the recording, they didn't always make the effort to be there live. And yeah, that made it sometimes very discouraging. And I'm going to share with you a secret that was not really fun for me, is that presenting a webinar to an audience of 1 or worse 0 can be very discouraging. And I've done that. And because I needed to record, I had to go through it anyway. So I was waiting to see if more people would show up, and then I would just start talking to myself, pretending there's someone there, because I needed to share the recording later on. So if you've done that, you probably know it's not very encouraging, but it's happened, to me anyway. And hopefully that makes you feel better if you've done something similar. Actually, you're not the only one, especially in week 3 of the workshop. So week 1, I usually had more people, and then participation decreases over the 3 weeks. And then week 3, sometimes I would find myself being alone to talk to myself in front of my computer. So at some point I decided to go with an asynchronous format. So in the last few years, I changed the format to short pre-recorded videos, and to have a page that has a mix of text and videos and resources and links. So the image you see there is a screenshot of part of the website that we have with short videos on different subjects. And to make sure we have that live interaction, I thought I would set up weekly office hours in Zoom. So I just send a Zoom meeting link and I say, hey, I'm going to be there during that time, and just come if you have questions. So that I thought it was interesting to try different things, because it made it, at least I wouldn't be talking to myself for an hour. I wouldn't have webinars of 0 participant. But there were some, so yeah, the pros, it's easier. I think it was easier for teachers to watch and access different parts. They can pick and choose the videos they want to watch. So probably easier than watching a full 1-hour recording. And the virtual office hours I felt were a good idea for a one-on-one interaction. However, there was less interaction overall, like the teachers wouldn't be chatting with each other online during the webinar. It takes much longer to pre-record in the first place. And because you get picky and you edit, and every time you make a mistake, you go and edit yourself and so on. So that's, to me, that was a lot longer. I much prefer being live like I am right now. And if I screw up something, I just continue, keep going and whatever, that's what life is. That's how being a teacher, that's how you do, right? You're live in front of your class and you just keep going. And when you pre-record, then sometimes you're picky and you want to, edit, and then it takes much longer. However, the videos can be reused, and that's what I've been doing a little bit. And my office hours, which I thought were a good idea, were barely used. I didn't have any people show up. Maybe they were shy to come, or they didn't feel the need, or maybe they hadn't had time to follow the content, so they didn't feel like I should go and ask questions if I haven't watched the content yet. So anyway, the office hours, the live office hours haven't been super well attended in the last little while. Just quickly, other things we've tried with online workshops. In the first few years, we had a forum for questions online, and it was so empty and sad that we removed it after a few years. We were hoping that would be a place for teachers to ask questions, and if I or my team didn't know the answer, we could go and ask professional astronomers, for example, for the answers. That was a good way to interact, but it didn't work. I mean, I don't think forums maybe don't work as much anymore. People are just on social media. We did have a group for one of the workshops we offered at some point, and it wasn't that well attended. And the feeling I get actually is that, teachers, they want to learn about astronomy, but again, because of what I've said so far, like it's not necessarily their priority in terms of everything else they have to do for their teaching. So they're happy to take the content, but they won't necessarily invest a lot of time in terms of, let's ask these questions and let's go and more and invest more time into it. So that's a bit the feeling I get. It gets discouraging sometimes, but at the same time, that's their reality. I'm happy to provide the content they need and don't expect much feedback in return in terms of questions and going further and so on. And I've mentioned that already, like presenting the live webinar at different times, there was not much difference for us. So the conclusion for the online workshops was that participation drops over the 3 weeks. We definitely noticed that. And I think that's similar to what most MOOCs, again, those massive open online courses, what they see. There's a low completion rate. Although ours was higher than, and I looked quickly online, and most MOOCs, I think, have completion rates lower than 15%, and some of them even have like 5%. Ours was higher than that. But again, it's hard to know sometimes just by seeing some of comments and people who answered the survey at the end or different things. It was around 30-40%, but it's still hard to know because it's online. You don't know how much they actually watched and so on. But we got good comments by teachers who do complete the workshops, or at least use some of the content. So that's encouraging. Like, maybe not everyone goes through the whole workshop, but some people do, and it is useful for these people. So that's great. That's my goal. I honestly thought about stopping the workshops, but since we have the content, we'll probably continue to offer, but with modifications. So again, this is a lesson learned. Like, even after 10 years of running these workshops, I still haven't found a format that's, yes, this is the way to do it. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to adapt to the reality of teachers, how to make it easy for them and accessible and so on. So I wanted to cover other online initiatives that we have as well. We do offer webinars. That's very simple, a live 1-hour webinar on various subjects. This is a screenshot from our archives on our website. We sometimes have guest speakers. We follow the news. Like, for example, we had one on solar eclipses just before the annular solar eclipse last June, visible in Canada. Upcoming events or subjects like, the solar system, you can see we had 2 of them. Actually, they appear one next to another, but they were a year apart. But model solar system or subjects that are important for teachers, we decided we kind of put more focus on that. And they're always recorded for later viewing. So that's a format that's relatively simple for us to offer. It doesn't ask too much of our time, and it still works well. We usually have live webinars with, between 20 and 40 people, and the views afterwards go up. So we thought, it's worth continuing. But I'm going to talk to you about some initiatives we've started since the pandemic, actually, and which have been very successful. Astro at Home, this was our reaction to the pandemic lockdown in March 2020. Suddenly when Canada, and I think it was the same in many places, but in Canada, March 13th, I remember it, they kind of said, okay, we're going into lockdown next 2 weeks, schools are closed, everything's closed. And as a mom of 3, I thought about the parents that would be home working while taking care of kids. And we thought, let's offer something educational and fun to families or to the kids to help with school closures. So it's easy to put your kids in front of a screen when you need some time to do on your other stuff. But at least if you're going to be putting them in front of a screen and they have fun and learn something interesting, then that's 20 minutes or 30 minutes that's well spent. And we decided to target 8 to 12 years old. We thought older than that, they can take care of themselves pretty well. And younger, it would be harder a bit for us, and they would need parental supervision probably a little bit, although some groups have done that very well. And we decided, let's go for 2 weeks every day. So we said, let's go live every day, actually twice a day, because in the morning was in French for us, in the afternoon was in English. Let's go live twice a day for half an hour for 2 weeks. And then it turned into 4 weeks, and then into 6 weeks. And in the end, we had 36 speakers present a total of 102 presentations over 11 weeks. So it grew a lot. I realized I have many friends in the Canadian astronomy community because we had volunteers, people come up and say, hey, can we present? When I sent a request for speakers, I had a lot of people interested, and some people came back very often. As you can see, like 36 speakers, 102 presentations in total, half of them in French, half of them in English, and some of them did both. So it was a lot of fun. It was the astronomy community coming together to present this to the kids and do something that felt useful during the pandemic. And that's what many speakers have said, is that at least I felt like I was contributing something. It was a hard time for everyone. We didn't really know what we needed to do. As astronomers, we don't go out there and save lives directly. But that was a very fun experience, exhausting, but fun. And now we have this archive of 51 presentations in each English and French, adapted for a young audience. And I did realize at some point that it was quite unique, especially in French. We don't have a whole lot of presentations. Some of them were more adapted for the live audience. There was a lot of interaction with the kids that were there live, but other ones can be rewatched over and over. And I think the content can still be very interesting. So everything is, you can see the links there, but everything's on our YouTube channel as well, and you can go back and watch some of them. And just to give you a bit of some ideas of the views on YouTube, again, when you look at the views over, this is when we started in March, and this is at the end of May when we stopped, you could look at it and think, well, this is disappointing, right? We started big and then it went down. And part of me is disappointed with that, but mostly I realized that we were super quick in starting our program because we were a small team. Within 2 days, right? I thought about it over the weekend, and on the Tuesday morning, we're live. So we're one of the few groups who offer something. But then other groups started doing things online, at least in Canada here. And then schools started online at some point. So obviously the numbers dropped because the kids were going different places. But what's pretty neat is that we had this core for, I think, at least a month. That's in French. We had 300 kids come every day with us to learn. And some of them watched all 51 presentations. So we started by a huge reach, but we finished with a huge impact on those kids that followed us. Like, they really built a community. They all talked to each other. They knew each other online. They chatted on YouTube. That was pretty interesting to see that the community that built, and they had a lot of fun there. And I say in French, the same happened in English, but the numbers are much lower. I don't know if you noticed the numbers here, but again, in French, we had about 6,000 people the first day, and then a community of about 300. In English, it was about 3 times less, and the community of about 100 by the end. And that's interesting for us because we offer both. We realized, like, there are, again, less resources available in French, and the impact was greater. It really built a community, and we reached many, many people in French, even though the Canadian population is 3/4 Anglophone, English speaking compared to French. So that was very interesting. And then other programs we did that worked super well, the Lookup Challenge. So over the holidays last year, so from December 16th to January 6th, we thought of 12 observations that kids and their families could make in the sky. And our thought was, like, you may not be able to see all your loved ones because of the pandemic. We couldn't see everyone we wanted over the holidays, but you will all be under the same sky. And that really caught people's attention. Like, when we launched it, it was really big on our website. We had like a 10 times increase on the number of visits on our website. And many people downloaded the sort of the sheet to fill and to observe different things. So just to give you an idea, we had some images made to look at. This was the challenge number 4, observe Mars next to the moon over, for a few days when they were closed in December. And we created a few videos as well to explain some of the main concepts. This was the introduction video with 3 colleagues of mine. And it was a lot of fun, actually. We had fun preparing it. It was a last minute idea, and we thought, okay, we have to do this. And it was, again, crazy to organize it. We probably organized it within a week or so, but it worked super well. All info was posted on our website at the beginning of the challenge. People could go back to the website and see like what to observe when. But we planned daily posts on social media with images and videos and information, so they could follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well to see the info. It was a huge success despite the weather. Many people, because it was organized with some groups in Montreal, like the French Canadian, again, the Quebec population, we got them more than Anglophone population again for this one, but it's the weather in Quebec, unfortunately, was not that good over the holidays, but it was still interesting. People tried to observe, and so even though they didn't observe everything, just knowing that these things are visible in the sky and so on. So we'll probably do something similar again in the next few years. Like it was, even though it was specific for the holidays during the pandemic when everyone would be home, this was, something we want to try again and have sort of invite people to observe over a certain time, and not just say, well, yeah, you can see planets in the sky, but say, okay, over this month, this is when you can see these things more precisely. And then it kind of helps them a bit more to know what to observe during that month. Another big project this year was Eclipse 2021. So there was an annular solar eclipse, and the path of annularity, again, you might see Canada in the background. Well, this would be the US here. The path of annularity was mostly across northern Canada. It went over the North Pole and into Siberia on the other side. But for us, this was where the big show was happening, and it's over a region that's not very well populated. So northern Ontario, northern Quebec, and Nunavut, here, the territory of Nunavut. There are some people living there, but not, hold on, we estimated about 80,000 people, I think, over the path of annularity, 86 schools or something like that. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but our goal was to engage kids in the path of annularity, and we decided to ship 20,000 Eclipse glasses to schools in that region. We also wanted to send educational material, including a USB key, because internet can be unreliable in some of those remote areas. So we were used to providing content online and just come to our website and download everything. But that didn't work well because we knew some of these communities would have bad internet, wouldn't be able to download everything. So we created some virtual content, but put everything on a USB key. So this was the kit we sent. And again, I want to highlight the Yardstick Eclipse demo kit from the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. I really like it. It's a great, now it's folded in 3, but when you unfold it, you have the Earth Moon model to scale, and it's great. And the fact that you could fold it was very easy for us to ship in our kits. We had, of course, Eclipse glasses, a USB key with material, and some info sheets with the local times for their community. And I packed those 20,000 plus glasses from my home with my kids. Actually, I hired my kids to do that with me. So it was an interesting project doing that from home, but I just wanted to highlight the Eclipse viewers that we got, because those regions where the eclipse was at its best, the population there is mostly indigenous in Canada. And we had the word eclipse put in 8 languages, English, French, and then like Inuktitut, different dialects of Inuktitut, different dialects of Cree, Ojibwe, and so on. So that was pretty interesting for us to work as well. And we translated our main information, especially eye safety information, into those languages. And a last minute collaboration, again, when I'm super busy, it seems like that's when I get ideas, and collaborated with an astrophysicist that works at the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope. She's actually indigenous herself. She's from an Innu community, Laurie Rousseau-Neptune, and she's a fantastic speaker and really great role model for kids. And she created a short videos telling indigenous stories about the solar eclipse. And we had that video a subtitle in 8 indigenous languages. So that was a great, first time we did that, and we want to do that more and more to be more inclusive of our programs. But just to tell you again, the Nunavut territory here and the capital Iqaluit, that's right here. I actually had the chance to travel to Iqaluit just before the pandemic, and I loved visiting the Canadian North. That was fantastic. But this was the largest city along the path of annularity with 8,000 people. So for us, it was very important to reach this part of Canada. So again, the path of annularity went something like this. Anyway, so we wanted to reach Iqaluit and Nunavut. And when we emailed all schools along the path of annularity to invite them to order their Eclipse kits on our website, we were told that our website, for some reason, was blocked by the Nunavut School Board. So there was our main target audience in the north, you know, and we wanted to reach them and we're emailing them. And for some reason, our website was blocked. They actually had a problem 2 years ago. I think a ransomware, someone stole information from the school board. So anyway, I think they were being super careful, but the teachers could not even access our website. So we had to create a form in Word and email it to everyone. So that was like, you know, last minute changes that we didn't plan for at all. But something that, you know, sometimes you have to keep in mind when you do have stuff online, there might be problems in reaching some communities you want to reach, just not even bad at internet access, but also your website being blocked for whatever reason. So some of the things we learned through that is that online activities are good, but we need to consider underserved regions that have unreliable internet. And for us, Eclipse 2021 was the perfect time to do that because the path of annularity was above some of those communities, and we focused on digital content, but not online. Even with good internet, there might be problems, like your website being blocked for whatever reason. And in the end, it was a great success. We shipped over 20,000 Eclipse glasses to 100 teachers or schools. Some packages were 50 glasses, other ones were 600 glasses. So it was quite customed to the different people who wanted them. And I see time is going, so I'll just mention a few more things here. Another thing we did with the Eclipse was the Eclipse Challenge. So Southern Canada, especially Ontario, Quebec, and the Atlantic region, we could see the eclipse, but it was partial here. But we wanted them to be able to observe it safely because not everyone would have eclipse glasses. So we thought, let's do it by projection and be creative. So these are pictures that I took. Actually, I was inspired by my experience during the total eclipse 2017 in the USA. That was at the Global Hands-On Universe. And I recognize Carl here. I can see you were there and a few other people. So I met from the Global Hands-On Universe conference there, and right after the conference was a total solar eclipse, and we got to observe it. And we're trying a few different things by projection, you know, where we have a sheet of paper and you make holes in it, and then it projects the words. And here you can see the partial eclipse sun through each hole. And I thought that was fantastic, right? A fun way to observe the eclipse, and let's invite people to do that. And I couldn't not put this picture. I don't know if Rosa is there, but I just love the fact that she and I both traveled to the US to watch the eclipse with our kitchen utensils. I had a grater, she had a spatula, but anything that had small holes in it, again, you can see here the partial eclipse sun through Rosa's spatula, and that works quite well as well. So we wanted people to be creative and observe the eclipse through colander or whatever. And we sent an eclipse challenge. I said, we created a video and posted that online and on our website and say, here's how you can observe the eclipse safely, be creative, have fun. It was super early in the morning. I had to wake up at like 4 to see it. It was at sunrise around 4:45, I think, here. And you know, we got some good results that were shared on social media. Like, again, this is projected on, you know, some kid's Billy, something about the eclipse. And through plant leaves, I like that one. Eclipse sun. And I love that this one even created a piece of art with holes and then the projection. So that was very interesting for us for people to engage. Again, we want to engage youth in the end, but we had to go through their families for this. And I think that worked pretty well with this. And I'll mention that one quickly. This is my last activity I want to share because I see it's already 45 minutes. We partnered with a group called École en Réseau here in Quebec, so networking schools. And I love the way they do programs. I think we're going to try probably to go this way a bit more in the future, is that you're running a bit like our challenge, our Lookup challenge or our Eclipse challenge. Let's say over the course of a month, we run an activity online, but teachers register for this, and then they get support to run the activity with their students, but with regular checkups by our team. So for example, they can have documents online for teachers to help them. We met sometimes with the teachers only, sometimes with teachers and students to introduce the project. And when students had questions, they could use a Padlet, and I'll show you an example in a minute, of online place where they put all their questions, and it's easy for us to either see the main ones that come again or answer them directly in the Padlet. And then we could have an online meeting with them to answer their questions, the kids' questions, and for them it was fun to meet an astronomer. And of course, it was an activity for students to do as well, but they learned a lot through the whole process. So we've done this twice so far. Galaxy Nature, sort of nature galaxy, I'll explain in a second. And we run that Eclipse challenge, especially for teachers that way as well. But GalaxyNet, so what it was, just to give you an idea, this is Padlet. If you don't know about Padlet, they're very useful ways to collaborate online. And this is where teachers or students would put their questions. They just create a new area to write and they put all the students' questions, and it's easy for us to see the main questions that come back and what other people have asked as well. So there are different ways. This is a very useful tool I find for educational purposes. So check it out if you don't know about it. But Nature Galaxy basically is land art, to create a galaxy with whatever is in your schoolyard. And this was done during the fall, so there were a lot of leaves on the ground here. But depending if your school was in a city or on the ground, or we had a school that was by the sea, so they created it with seashells and branches that were found on the beach. And so they learned about the Milky Way, where we are in the Milky Way through all of this. And then they went outside to create their galaxy as land art. And the final meeting online was for all schools to share their piece of art. And that was very interesting to see the differences as well. So I like that because we supported the teachers to do this activity over the course of a month. So the teachers felt less left alone to do it. And for us, it was a way to reach many teachers across Quebec, in this case, the province of Quebec, with this activity. So we'd like to expand that and use this model a bit more in the future. I see some comments coming. I'll read that in a sec. So quickly looking ahead, we'll keep the 3-week workshops, but we'll keep improving the format. Again, I feel like there's still ways to improve it and work on that. We'll keep the webinars because I think it's a simple, not so innovative, but way to reach teachers and present content on different subjects. The offline or virtual content, a bit like we did with the Eclipse, we'll build new initiatives like that to reach remote communities. Online is great, but again, we have to think about those communities that might not have good internet access. We want to set up a better evaluation plan because it's harder to evaluate engagement with online programs. Like the number of people who register for an activity versus the number of people who participate live or watch the recording, or did they watch the whole recording or just part of it? It's harder. So we need some sort of, and this is something I feel like we could improve, evaluate our programs better, try to see how teachers got engaged or how many kids were reached in the end. It's very hard when you put things online to know exactly, like number of views is one indicator, but it's not perfect because you don't know how long they watch. They do something in classroom afterwards. It's a bit hard to know. And we will definitely focus on the new initiatives, like the challenges, like the Lookup challenge or the Eclipse challenge, and activity with online support, a bit like our Land Art Galaxy project, because we feel like it's great. Those were great successes and a great way to reach teachers and get them engaged right away with their students. I just want to finish by saying that this is the time to be creative and try new things. Some of the things we've tried since the pandemic, we didn't know if it was going to be a success or not, but I feel like everyone has to reinvent a bit the way they do programs. And if you fail, well, at least you tried, right? And this times I think like everyone's trying new things and some work better than others. But I feel like it's a good time to use the new reality to try new things and be creative. Yeah. So this is it. Thank you very much. I hope you got some ideas in there, and I'm happy to answer some questions, like some comments. And again, if you want to reach me, this bilingual information for Discover the Universe, but I also put in orange my personal Twitter account and email address if you want to reach me after this conference. Thanks, everyone.
Great, Julie. Wonderful presentation by you. I can so very well resonate with you because from India, I have been constantly working in the area of solar eclipses. And I have also been a part of making those 20,000 solar eclipses in my office, working day and night and constantly producing them. So, and we all face the similar problems. Like I always used to think that teachers in India are overburdened. No, but teachers in Canada also are overburdened. So I think this is brilliant, and I think these activities are wonderful for all of us to bring ideas and overcome the challenges. I see Carl raising his hand, and they're very beautiful comments, so you can read them yourself. Carl, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Julie, that was fantastic. You're great. It's so inspiring. Hey, does every teacher in Canada know about you?
No, not at all.
Sacre bleu, what?
I like when people say that. Like, we don't actually say that in Canada. But it's no, and it's hard to reach teachers and again to get known. And I've gone to teach like a lot of teachers conferences, and there's so many groups that offer programs to Canada, like to teachers. I feel like it's hard to get above the noise in a sense. And because we're still, I mean, 2020 we grew a lot. At some point, I had 7 part-time employees. I started just myself, 10 years ago and part-time. But we're still a small team, so it's hard to, get known in all provinces. It's a big country, so I feel like in Quebec, I'm known more. But again, teachers change places and so on, and so it's hard to, have the constant base of teachers who know you and talk to their colleagues about us. So no, definitely not known everywhere.
You're
That's
one of the world's best kept secrets, Julie. Great. Oh, wait, my second.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, so one second question. Can we link or can we quote borrow materials? I mean, to specific activities. I mean, I have teachers I think that would die to see your stuff.
My goal is really to share everything, and like everything is online, and so everything that's online definitely use, like that's meant to be used and reused, and appreciate the credit. But even then, I as you saw, I get inspired by other groups as well, and I credit them whenever I get inspired by other people. And
we'll put a little thumbnail picture of you, tiny.
Sorry, what?
We'll give you credit. We'll put a tiny thumbnail picture of you.
Don't put my picture. Just link to Discover the Universe. That's good.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you so much. This is really inspiring.
I see Rosa's there. I hope you didn't mind being in my presentation.
Oh, not at all. It's a complete privilege. I remember so vividly the good time we got there, but it seems that your project is growing really fast, and that COVID was a plus for the growth, which is a good thing from COVID. I'm really glad with that.
Yeah, it really allowed us to go outside our comfort zone in a sense and try new things, and that worked very well. Like it's kind of weird to say, like, but yeah, we grew, and I know the COVID situation helped us in a sense, which is, I'm torn in saying that, but that's a reality. Like we found new ways to be creative and to reach teachers differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Great presentation. Really great presentation.
Julie, I too have had times when I was alone on the talks. So I feel like what it feels to be single person on the talk. And then what we used to do, we used to send those videos over to people. So yes, over to you.
You're cutting. I missed the part, but I heard that you were alone on talks as well. So I'm not so alone in that situation.
So is that now? Am I audible? I think there's some glitch in the audio.
It's better now.
Okay, Gustavo, over to you. So I have had similar experiences, and we used to send WhatsApp to lots of people across all the villages where we used to work. So that's how we used to get a lot of views over YouTube. Yes, Gustavo, over to you.
Thank you, Katan. It's just a curiosity that I want to ask to Julie, because you mentioned that there's this very sparsely populated region in the north of Canada, and I was curious about how is the internet access, is all mobile networks, how do the indigenous people, they get access to internet, and how do also, how is the access to computers or tablets? Because, in Brazil, for instance, we have also regions that is hard to get access. They're very sparsely populated, not much infrastructure. We also have projects in Africa that we want to reach teachers, and it's hard to reach those sparsely populated regions. So if you could get some light here on how do you do it in Canada, would be very interesting.
It's a good question, and to be honest, it's such a big region that I don't know. I don't know everything. But my experience going to Iqaluit, as you saw, is quite far north. Again, Iqaluit is sort of the center of Nunavut. It's the biggest city there. So even though it's only 8,000 people, it has a lot of resources. So the schools there were, like when I walked in the schools, it was similar to walking to school in my town here. They did have computers and some things like that, but because it's on an island. I won't bring the map again, but it's not on the mainland. It's on an island. They did say that, you know, having streaming things online is harder. So internet, they do have internet, but it's not always reliable for streaming live things. So that's when we thought, let's send USB keys. And we've heard of other communities, some of them quite remote. I think most people now have internet, like you say, on mobile. And I think schools overall are equipped with internet access, but not always necessarily Wi-Fi, you know, broadband and fast internet. So we will, yes. So I know a group, for example, Connect and North, we collaborate with them, and they did equip some schools with, I think, satellite access. That was part of their sort of mandate, wanted to give presentations to school, but they got funding to equip some schools with better internet access. They got like big grants for that, obviously, but it's a challenge, right? And we want to make sure we don't leave anybody out. Like going online is great because then you can get, like us now, like we can get hundreds of people from all across the world working together. But then again, and people wouldn't be able to travel are included in this case, but people who don't have good internet access are left out. So there's always this inclusivity issue, I think, that we're trying to think about. And I'm trying to, like, even if it's just sending a USB key, it's not very hard to do. So let's continue doing that. Let's put all material on the USB key and ship that if that makes it easier. Because I think most schools do have computers, I think in Canada at least.
Julie, I have a question. So all the material you were working with the indigenous people, was it all translated into 8 languages? Was it translated into 8 dialects or something?
Yeah, so for the Eclipse, it was the first time we did that. We've been wanting to do it for years, and this was like the perfect situation. Because the eclipse was super early in the morning, we knew the kids wouldn't be able to observe it at school. They would need to observe it at home. Then we thought, what if their families, right, don't necessarily read English or French? But we need to make sure that it is in their own language and they understand, especially the safety issue. So we had the main info sheet about what's an eclipse, how to observe it safely, you know, when is it happening. We had it on one side of a paper, and that was translated into 6 languages plus English and French. So it was the main languages spoken along the path of annularity, and we made it double-sided. So it could be like, let's say, Inuktitut and English on the other side. And for example, in northern Quebec, the school board that's there is actually, they have 3 languages. The community speaks English, French, and Inuktitut. And we ended up sending sheets in all 3 to those communities, and they really appreciated that, having the information. So the kids would go home with their solar viewers plus the info sheet. The educational material, like the PowerPoint and the stuff that we sent to the schools, we couldn't translate in all languages. That would have been too long and actually very expensive as well. So that was only English and French. But unfortunately, and I don't like that, but it kind of made it easier for us. It's like most of the education is done in English or French in Canada. There's not a whole lot that's done in their native Indigenous language, which, you know, we could go on about that for a long time, but at least the teachers had the resources in the language they probably taught.
That's interesting. That's interesting to know. Does any audience have any questions for Julie? We have 3 more minutes, or any committee members if they have questions, or else I can read out some interesting comments which have been put here. It was a brilliant way to start the session by sharing different from where the people are. So we have got a lot of different countries here. I see a nice message by SN Sugumar from Mumbai. They have been saying that we at Mars India Observe are in the process of inviting eminent scientists. So they work also in the similar lines as you do. Christian says that they have got really inspired by your work. And that's the impact of your work, which has been really coming to the people. So it's not only your country, it's happening across the world. So this is the power of technology, which it is. And I feel that this is really beautiful. And of course, the solar eclipse was a special thing, which I felt that many people would have loved to see the images, and also the images with Rosa. So wonderful, Julie. If there are any other questions, you can ask. There, many people are saying thanks for sharing and great presentation. And Yeah, that's pretty much it.